So let's talk about George Fox versus PLU. We've already kind of alluded to it throughout the show already. Last Saturday, PLU traveled to Newburgh to face George Fox. PLU jumped out to an early lead. Ethan McKildrey scored on a 22-yard rushing touchdown. Dove into the corner of the end zone, got the Lutes on the board. Point after was blocked, so the Lutes led 6-0. Later in the first quarter, Ben Welch scored an 11-yard touchdown pass from John Schaub. Lutes went for 2 but failed. PLU took a 15-7 lead into halftime, but there was some confusion at the end of the first half. George Fox tried to run a trick play. Kellen, can you kind of walk us through what all was going on during that play? I'm assuming you've watched film and seen all of what happened. I didn't get back to it, but what happened on that end of that first half?
Right, so a guy who I would like to think knows football and myself, who isn't on special teams, there's about 11 seconds left, and it was third down, and I see their field goal unit, come onto the field. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. They still have one more down left. There's 11 seconds. Why are they doing this? Then they call timeout. They go off the field. Then they come back and bring their offense on the field. But one guy doesn't go across the numbers, and that's what you have to do to be able to run this trick play. And so the flag is for deception. Great call by the refs. Thankfully, they saw it. I know I started the show today talking about how poor the officiating was, but this was a big-time call by them because the guy who scored the touchdown, number 15, did not run outside the numbers, and the ref watched that whole thing. It was a great call by the Bruins because we kind of got caught with our pants down, if you will, and a great call by them. Again, would have been a touchdown if that guy just went across the numbers, but he didn't. Thankfully, it wasn't a touchdown, but again, obviously the Bruins went away with the W, and so I know special teams Judd Keim is looking for other teams to start doing that because they definitely fooled us if he would have gone across the numbers.
Kellen, I feel like it's one of those things that is one of those intricacies of the game. It's just where you're thankful there was a ref looking. It's kind of like
totally.
It's kind of like when you're speeding. You're going semi-fast, but then the guy blows your doors off, and you're like, "Hey, where's the cop?" When I need him, there was a cop there when you needed him that time because that would have been a huge momentum killer
right before halftime.
Yeah,
too.
that would have been a problem.
So then, coming out of the half, the game was very tight, very tough between the two teams. George Fox didn't have a lead until there was about 7 minutes left in the game. So George Fox took over. It was 22-18 with about 7 minutes left. The Lutes were driving until John Schaub threw an interception with 3 minutes and 11 seconds left in the game. The game wasn't over because the Bruins took over on their own 5-yard line, so they were pinned deep in their own territory. The PLU defense forced George Fox to punt with 1 minute and 27 left on the clock. Okay, so even getting the ball back, that's plenty of time to drive down the field and score a touchdown to win the game. It got even better for PLU when the Bruin punter shanked this punt. The punt went from the 5-yard line to about the 27-yard line. So PLU got a gift and took over from the 27-yard line with 1:22 left in the game. PLU was driving. Schaub completed a pass to Kellen Westering that took the Lutes down to the 9-yard line, maybe even a little closer. Schaub was slow to get up. I talked to John during the week. He said it felt like 2 or 3 seconds. It was 7 or 8. I mean, he was down for a while. He was down long enough for the official to walk over to him, look at him, turn around, blow his whistle, and call an injury timeout. He did that with 8 seconds left in the game. Because the injury timeout was for an offensive player, that resulted in a 10-second runoff, and with 8 seconds left, there's no time left in the game, and PLU ends up losing by 4 in what was really kind of a disappointing fashion. You'd like to see a team in any situation. It could have been George Fox. I would have liked to see the game end on the player's watch and not on a call from a referee like that. So it was wild. It was crazy. What are everybody's takeaways from Saturday's game?
Just at the end there, you have to, as an official, you don't really have a choice, or else some teams would just make a kid go down to win an extra timeout. That's why they do the 10-second runoff. It's another whistle against deception. I know John got his bell rung pretty good. So, John thought he got up in time. Guess he didn't. But that's just tough on the PLU team. But at the end of the day, PLU's 14 points, 2 minutes and 45 seconds, 2 turnovers, and 1 really bad coaching decision from 6-0. This is not a 3-3 football team. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not a talent problem.
Yeah.
Untimely turnovers and just a bad coaching decision. It's what's cost this team a perfect season so far.
That's fair. Lacey, what did you think of Saturday's game?
Well, I was able to catch up on the game at the start of the second quarter. And guys, I'm kind of convinced I'm bad luck here because at the Whitworth game, I got there at halftime and the Lutes were up and we ended up losing that one. And I'm coming into the George Fox game, watching it at the second quarter, and we're up and everything's fine and dandy. And then the wheels start falling off the wagon as soon as I start watching.
Maybe you should stop.
Maybe you should have turned it off.
Having said that, regardless of the hard loss, there were a lot of small victories on the day. I wasn't able to see Ben Welch's first touchdown of his college career, but I was so excited when I heard that happened. Ben Welch has 923 career receiving yards and scored his first touchdown in the George Fox game, which was very exciting. I know John Schaub was excited for his friend and that he was able to be the one to get him the ball. Also, Ethan McElderry had a big day along with his touchdown. McElderry had 108 all-purpose yards, 28 rushing, 56 kick return yards, and 24 punt return yards. So big day for him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said by both of you guys. I think our red zone offense is what really struggled with us. We only punted the ball once. And so you think about how many times we had the ball closing in, being able to almost potentially score. Drew hit it on the head. 2 big turnovers were huge. The one where Schaub ended up fumbling, we were on about our own 20 going in. Their 20 going in. And just the ball just slipped out of John's hands as he was trying to kind of do a knee slide, if you will, in the pick. As we were on their own 25 going in to score. So it's tough when you're so close to scoring and you turn the ball over. Also, they didn't turn the ball over once. And so got to give a lot of credit to the Bruins for hanging on to the football and not giving it back to us. It's interesting. The time of possession, we had the ball for 34 minutes, and they had it for 25. And so, again, something that I am very proud of this team. Again, Drew, you mentioned 6-0. I don't quite agree with the timing, 2:45. I think we're even close. I think we're about a minute 30 away from being 6-0. But we've won time of possession almost every game we played in, which is exciting. That's big time for this Loot offense because last year our defense was basically like the Seahawks against the Cardinals, just on the field almost every game for more than 35 minutes. And so it's exciting to see our offense continue to sustain drives. But if we want to win the football game, we can't turn the ball over. So, Drew, to your point, you hit it right there on the head.
Yeah. I left Saturday's game trying to process everything I just watched. I thought that both teams moved the ball well. I thought that both defenses played well. I think with a final score of 22-18, I think that's fair to say. The game had a wacky finish. Each quarter, there was something that you could take out of it and go, wow, that was kind of strange. I've never seen that before. We talked about the ends of both halves. They were weird. My question to everyone is if there's anything that PLU could have done differently to change the outcome of the game.
Well, Christian, I'm going to sound like a broken record here and very colloquial. But, ball security is job security at the end of the day. If you don't turn the ball over, you're going to find a way on the field because ball security is job security. And I feel like PLU holds onto the ball and PLU wins. Period. End of story.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I echo what you said there, Drew. I kind of mentioned it earlier right before you spoke about we can't turn the ball over.
Nope.
I also think our special teams needs to do a better job. And it's the little things. I mean, you think about PATs. They should be boring, right? But again, everyone has to block. It's kind of like a 3-second train wreck. As you're on that line, we can ask Jonah about that, what it takes to block for a PAT. It has to be a good snap. It has to be a good hold. And he has to kick it through the uprights. And we did not do that after our first touchdown. Dallin misses the first PAT. It's not about blaming anybody in particular, but our line did not block very well. Number 7 for the George Fox Bruins, who's a heck of a football player, came right up the gap, and Dallin didn't have a shot. And we didn't make the 2-point conversion on the second touchdown. And so, again, you start doing some math. If Dallin makes the first PAT, makes the second PAT, and, again, he makes the 3 other field goals, again, if we get the ball down to where we needed to with 1:27 left, Dallin kicks a game-winning field goal. We leave Newburgh with a 1-point win, just like last year. So it's frustrating. Again, we're not a team that likes to blame anybody or point fingers, but it's one of those things where you start doing some math and you miss a PAT in the first quarter. You don't think that might come back to haunt you, but it does once again, just like it did against Whitworth.
I'm not going to call it blaming. It's just an aspect of the game where you make those couple extra points, and all of a sudden, like you said, it's easy to kick that game-winning field goal and walk away with a win. Lacey, what do you think?
I think defense did better than offense this weekend. I think offense was timid and struggling. But to hit on the defensive side of things, side of things, Carson Ketter led the defense with 14 tackles. Isaiah Watkins had 7 tackles, a sack, and 2 tackles for loss. Tanner Perry had 3 tackles, including a sack, and Cooper Murphy had 5 tackles and 2 pass breakups. So I think the defense did a good job. I think it was last week, and when we were making predictions for this game, I was expecting a couple turnovers from our defense, which we didn't see in this game, which was unfortunate. It could have shifted the momentum a bit. On offense, the Lutes had 364 yards of total offense, 242 passing, and 122 running. So not bad there. PLU was 7 of 14 on third down and had 2 turnovers, a fumble, and an interception, both of which were by John Schaub. So, again, with the whole blaming thing, I mean, it's a team sport, but I don't know if the offense was timid. I honestly, watching the game, it felt like PLU offense was on their heels and George Fox was the aggressor. I don't know, Kellen, you were out there, but it just didn't seem like the confidence was there from the offensive side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I love your point of view there, Lacey. I think we were confident. I just think, and again, we're not going to blame, but those 2 turnovers, I mean, those should have been 14 points very easily. We're going in to score. We had proven that we can score against them in the red zone in the first quarter, and they were just backbreakers. I mean, we're on, like I said, that interception when we try to get DJ in the ISO corner. I mean, the corner peel-off made a great play. It's tough sometimes not to get 2 X's and O's, but when there's only one route that's primary, and you don't have a dump off, you don't have an outlet, and John Schaub, again, who's not a 4-year starter, he's still learning to play quarterback. No offense against him, but if he's not open, you got to throw the ball away. But that's happened a couple times this year where it's primary. I got to get it to him. Doesn't matter how many blue jerseys there are, you got to be able to throw it away. That's what the great quarterbacks do.
I have a kind of X's and O's question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys have a fire call for your holder when they blow through the PAT line like that? Does your holder know he's got to yell fire, pull the ball, and break out one way?
What does fire mean? You mean
like
pick it up and try and run it into the end?
Peter,
a fire call would be like there's a fire, everyone get out of the house is basically why they call it fire.
But what does that mean on the football field?
Snap to the holder goes to put the ball down, sees that the blocking scheme is been wedged out or someone broke through, and that holder can call fire, and both guys at the end of the line who are off the ball can run into the end zone because they are off the ball. They're considered receivers, and you can throw one of them the ball, or you can run it in around the corner if if one side breaks down and the other side doesn't, and that's on the holder, I feel like, because you should never ever put Dallin in that position where he has to kick into someone's teeth.
Right,
and that's a safety thing for Dallin too.
Right, you kind of put yourself in that holder position. I've never held at all for a field goal kicker, but you think about catching that ball, putting it down. You're not really looking at the line. You know what I mean? Because it was a perfect snap. The first PT that was blocked, perfect snap. He catches it, puts it down. I don't think he sees the line. I think if it's a high snap, that's when you yell fire.
Okay.